last time, but
Sorry, folks.
that's my 2 cents worth on this. I did not read it all. I opened it up late, and then I took a break for supper, and the power was blinking on and off. So, but I do think it's something we can work with.
Well, Charlie, did you see earlier versions of this? Is this the first you're seeing?
No, I saw the earlier one. We had a long discussion about the logos at the last branding meeting, and I think most of us didn't really like it. There were elements of it that that I found more acceptable than others, and this is a more radical departure from what it was. And I have other notes about bicycling coming up that Tara also got today from Richard Fries from the group that put on the Nat Chunk Challenge. And they're looking at having the first stage of Tour New England starting in Thompson on July 2nd next year. The other 100-kilometer challenge they're looking to put in March 28th of next year. And they've got a 2-day event scheduled in at the Thompson Speedway in November of 2021. So to me, it speaks of a more of a growing opportunities for bicyclists in the town, which is something I've been lobbying for. If we do use this logo, we're really going to have to push along on what we need to make the bike routes, which is Tara's point. We want to make sure that we're able to incorporate it in the wayfinding and the logo design and identifying safe bike routes, and Thompson is a bike-friendly community. That's kind of the thing that I think should be one of the primary building blocks of our economy as we move forward.
So I'm going to throw a little wrench into this discussion because I had quite a bit of time to talk to Brian Flaherty on Saturday. And you may be disappointed, Charlie, to know that most of us who saw that logo kind of hated it. Although not all of it, and possibly for different reasons. I do think that Sullivan and Leshane did incorporate the specific critiques that we gave of the last logo, which is that they used a sort of a different perspective on the mill, made it a little more recognizable, and added more depth of field. All of those things I think were okay. That cyclist is a hot mess. It is a blatant piece of clip art just plunked into the field. Like if you look through the wheel, it's white and not green like the grass behind. So it is literally a cut and paste. The colors are jarring. It's too prominent. And the rest of it, and these are criticisms that I only arrived at myself since looking at it in the meantime. Why is that road a dirt road? And why is there no other human activity indicated? Like, it just seems very, it's both busy and empty at the same time.
Okay.
Now, I did give Brian some more feedback, not including those last couple of elements, on Saturday, which are things that I think people responded to in that example of the Putnam one that kept coming up, which is that it looked more intentional, that it looked more artist rendered, in the case of the Putnam one, more like a woodcut effect, so that it gave additional depth.
Tara, can I have you pause a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to get everybody identified here. There's a 508736. Is that you,
That's
Tara?
me. That's me.
And then there's an 860. That's me. And then the last phone number, I'm guessing might be Mike Troy, our intern, 6877, Mike?
877's me, but can you hear me?
That's Brian.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
So
because
I don't know.
okay.
You're in as a guest and with your phone number. All right, so I know Troy was supposed to be in this. I just texted him the new link because I wanted him to be part of the discussion about this marketing plan, but
On my screen,
happening.
on my screen, I see Charlene's phone and Ken, but they're both muted.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to identify the phone number, so I wasn't sure who exactly was on, and the unknown, I guess, in the group was Brian, who's very well known. Go ahead, Kira. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to make sure we.
No, it's fine. So I had a couple of fairly substantive conversations with Brian Flaherty about it, and I actually kind of would have expected that he would have shown us something revised again tonight. Now, I will also say that he made the point to me that, you know, based on what we contracted for, that they have a limited number of hours that their office can put into this, and still be, you know, within the budget that we all agreed to, although they are fixing it or at least amending it. But I would have expected that to come into this tonight. So I don't know what the results of that are. But those were the additional pieces of feedback that I gave to him, mostly that cyclist was a hot mess and that it still looks very flat and clip-arty. Those last two observations, the dirt road and the lack of evidence of human habitation in the background were stuff that I did not have the opportunity.
When I opened it up again tonight to put it on the screen so I could share it with you, which seems like it's not allowing me to do. The only thing that's missing is...
Charlie, let Renee finish because I couldn't hear her.
I didn't finish. All it's missing is the cow in the field behind the white fence. Never mind. That was just getting us right back. So instead of beating a dead horse or cow over this logo, which we seem to be going round and round with, and if we don't have anything from Flaherty, maybe we just go through the plan. Do we want to look at the plan, and then we'll get to our regular agenda after? I was going to propose that we do that anyway. Move this part to the beginning, so our intern and Ryan F would be able to log off when we were done. So do folks have that in front of them that they can look at, or?
I do.
Well, I'm just on my phone, so I can't see anything. I'm just going to follow along in conversation.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know if it says I'm in another meeting. He's waiting in the old meeting. Hang on.
Tara, I don't have any real problems with what you just said. I wasn't really wowed with the bicycle, but I liked the concept better. I thought that it was more towards what I had in mind. And yeah, okay, there's no cows, there's no house, it's a dirt road, but the mill is certainly more recognizable as a mill to me. And
yeah, I think those parts of it are fine. I think the mill piece and the actual word Thompson, I think they're fine. I just feel like I actually kind of liked the one before better if you took out the cow, which
again though,
in.
But that was very flat though, Tara.
But it was very flat. Yes, I agreed, and that was a main reason why it was redone in this way. But in terms of seeming, I don't know, this one feels very empty to me. Like, Thompson, here's emptiness. It's just like...
We haven't heard from Charlene. She usually has some strong opinions on this.
Well, I'll throw my 2 cents in, like I already wrote
Okay.
this, so it's on the record. This is Brian. I just thought, again, it did look Cliff Hardy. I thought the first thing it drew my mind to was this bicyclist. And Charlie, I'm sorry, but I do not think of bicycling as the #1 activity in town. It almost made it look like this was an advertisement for a bike race and not a whole town. I personally think hiking and kayaking, water activities like that are of more importance to the town. I just thought it did a very weak job of representing the range of what we offer. It basically looked like it was a town for biking, period.
Okay. Oh yeah, by the way, I was looking up Thompson on the web browser the other day, and I found Thompson, New York. So maybe we want to say Thompson CT, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, we get a lot of calls in our office for Thompson, New York. All right, so you know what? Not everybody has the plan. I'm just going to be, I'm gonna play it here and read the document. We can go through it page by page because I want to get some input here. In the
I'm
summer,
glad it's not me for a change.
in the summer of 2020, the town of Thompson engaged. Whoops, Mike is coming in. I had apparently sent him the original link. In the summer of 2020, the town of Thompson engaged Sullivan and Lashane Public Relations to create a comprehensive plan to guide the town's branding, implementation committee, and marketing the town's adapted, I think they meant adopted, municipal brand, which Thompson, a green and growing community, which tells me right from the beginning they didn't take a lot away from our subsequent meetings with them, that we had this group come in and they just did not get away from Thompson Green and Growing, and I don't think we saw options beyond that, even though I know we started at that point. The tactics proposed for this plan included message development, brand messaging inspired by the branding implementation committee, and developed at a message development session moderated by SL team. Brand package, a brand logo for marketing material based on Thompson features, themes, iconography, brainstormed and sketched by the branding implementation committee. River mill, farms, fields, trails, landscapes, bicyclists. Media relations, a media outreach plan with 2 main elements, a year-long, editorial calendar of annual events and activities, as well as a series of Thompson theme months that the branding committee can use to guide their strategy and generate positive publicity both within and outside of the town. A master list of Thompson media contacts for media outreach. This packet contains deliverables called for in this project. They are designed to help set the course for the committee as the group prepares to take the next steps in launching the municipal brand. I thought they were going to help with the launch. Is that not part of the deal?
Well, I kind of thought that as well, but since we can't ask Brian right now, I can't verify or deny.
Right. Okay. Section 1 is the key messages and timelines. 2, the logo, design files delivered separately. Section 3, media list for 2020. Thompson, 4, the editorial calendar with subsections for theme months and annual events. Section 5, Thompson digital platform best practices. Thompson key messages and timelines. On Friday, July 17th, the message development session was held at the Thompson Public Library to assemble the key messages, taglines, and logos concepts for Thompson, a green and growing community brand. The following messages and taglines are the result of the meeting on the 17th and the subsequent reviews with the branding committee on August 4th. Key messages are the raw material of your brand's elevator speech, supporting its consistent and reoccurring themes. They are not carved in stone. Rather, they serve as a unifying foundation for press releases, announcements, advertising, and other material produced by the branding committee and town departments, boards, and commissions. So this is where I'm thinking there's going to be a lot more work with the launch. And again, we can ask, because this is the important part. We can have this whole packet, and it's going to sit in the drawer like the conservation plan for 10 years. Or we're going to have a live document that our departments, our library, our rec department, our historical society, people are going to be using these general themes and messages. So it's, anyway. One, Thompson brings all the advantages of a New England countryside combined with easy accessibility and reachability. So this is one of the themes that came out of that July meeting. And from larger cities and more populated areas. It's right here. And then there's three better, it plays, it spells that message out a little bit more. We're within reach right here, an ideal location for people to live, work, play, visit, and thrive. B, we are conveniently positioned with an hour of Boston and Hartford. And you know what? I'm going to kind of, and people can jump in as this can be a discussion, and that's just not me talking about it. These were definitely high points that have been around since the beginning of branding, since the plan that got started with NECOG, that is a central theme to, you know, close enough, you know, we're right here. That's kind of been one of the major themes from the beginning. And C, reach for Thompson. We're closer than you think. So that's like one overall theme. And then two, Thompson is welcoming, green, and growing community, brimming with opportunities for those who are looking to live, work, play, or visit here. Nothing stands in your way when you come to Thompson. We are, and then these are the subcategories, the supporting facts, a community with a terrific quality of life, home to excellent schools, Yes, okay. A River Valley Trail town with numerous natural resources and amenities, a business-friendly community with a favorable regulatory environment. So I don't know, from the beginning of the first paragraph when we started reading this, it sounds like we're kind of getting stuck on, oh, we got to use Thompson, it's green and growing. We got to use the green and growing. But if I'm looking at this, they're actually promoting us to use both of these, right? It's all right here. You know, a welcoming community, it's green and growing, it's brimming with opportunities. So I don't know that they're mutually exclusive from each other. Of course, maybe you.
Well, I think that in fact I think in fact he made that point himself, that the taglines, the other talking points can work with or independently of the brand slogan, you know, whether you keep the green and growing or not. I think they are, in fact, completely meant to be able to operate as independent talking points. It's just that they are thematically tied together, you know, from those through lines that were identified in that focus group.
I think it works. I mean, the more I read it, I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable with it and a little less shell-shocked. You know, I'm kind of getting that logo out of my head for a minute and working, you know, looking through this kind of information.
I have a question or observation. Item 2C, it says River Valley Trail Town. I think we might want to include in there specifically a river trail served by the Airline State Park Trail and the East Coast Greenway. I think that we want to.
Well, I think this is meant to be pretty generic. They're not getting into those specifics in this piece, Charlie, and that's where we come in. We know all those details, and that's part of what we can brag about. I did have a little bit of, when I read that, a River Valley, because I think of Connecticut River Valley when I hear River Valley. But I think that's what they were going. We know we have all those resources out there. I think this is kind of more general than getting down to those specifics.
See, but
and
that's
then the
what
third,
I understood. we know that they're there, but isn't this document supposed to help with people beyond the borders of the town?
Right, so we need to take this as a framework.
Yes.
Yeah. So the third is another, I don't know what he's calling him here, but a foundation.
So let me interrupt you for a second, Renee. Leslie's in the
Sure.
waiting room.
Oh, thank you. Where in the hell is she? Manage for it. No, this is weird. Are you kidding me? I am trying to manage. There we go. No, I'm not seeing her.
Well, I mean,
You see her?
she said she was waiting. No, she texted me and said she's waiting. I just copied and pasted the link from the Facebook message to her, so she should have the correct information.
Unless she's trying to, she must have,
No, she just
maybe
texted me
she's
again.
assuming that's not,
Keep going, and I'll let you know.
yeah, she's assuming it's the one I sent earlier, I think, or the one she got somewhere else, because I don't see her. And the third consistent piece of this framework is Thompson is committed to achieving a growth in a way that is green, sustainable, and innovative. And the four subcategories: consistent focus on keeping our community beautiful, collaborative business environment that works for a common goal of future success, a town of 10 villages with hidden treasures, and a unified community spirit. And that's for Charlene, I think. That's for all of us. A small town feel with an innovative mindset. So I do, you know, the more I'm reading this, I'm kind of liking that.
Sometimes when you read things out loud, they sound and feel better than words on a flat page.
Yes, so let's see what's next. Taglines. And I don't know, it sounds like, let me read this. Taglines are the resonant phrases or slogans that serve to clarify and emphasize your brand attributes in a pithy, memorable way. The following taglines garnered the most support from the discussion with the branding committee and can be used with or without the Green and Growing brand line. Follow the trail to Thompson, and they've got, and I'm not going to repeat a Green and Growing community because we just said with or without. All trails lead to Thompson. Find your way to Thompson. Find your way in Thompson. Reach for Thompson, it's right here. Comments on the taglines. Most of us have seen these already. The interesting part is I like it's right here, and he didn't, that as though that is part of the framework, the foundation that they put on the previous page, but they didn't include it as a potential tagline. But anybody, anything jump out at you?
I've always liked the "it's all right here" or anything to do with that.
Well, we're closer than you think.
Yeah. I mean, that ties in with one of the elements we liked about in the logo was the direction point or whatever you call that thing that tells us, you're right here. Anybody else? Comments?
Of these that are listed here, I like the one that says "find your way to Thompson" better rather than "find your way in Thompson."
Yeah, so I guess, and again, if we go one way, I mean, I don't know, I'm not a branding expert. So the following taglines garner the most support. So are we supposed to be narrowing down to the 2 or 3 that we want? Of course, if Brian was here, we could have asked him that. Because to me, if you start using too many, then you don't have a consistent message. I mean, they're similar, I suppose, enough. Except like the one that you mentioned, Charlie, Find Your Way to Thompson, is really geared for out-of-town residents. And Find Your Way in Thompson could be more for residents. So I guess it depends on what we're trying to promote.
Yes, and just hearing you read it, I think Find Your Way in Thompson could imply for people to move here and start their business and do stuff with their family. I don't know.
Yeah,
Just that.
that's a whole other take on it.
That's a whole other take. And just as I read it or heard you read it, that resonated there.
So, I mean, I guess without him here, it's going to be tough to know the answers to those questions. I mean, does anybody have any thoughts on, narrowing this down to a smaller pool, or?
What if we combined those two? Find Your Way to Thompson, Find Your Way in Thompson, a green and growing community. Is that too busy, too complicated?
Yeah, it's too long.
Yes, Leslie.
All right.
Chris just got our generator going, so I'm going to try to get in on the screen with you guys too.
Okay, and if you can, any chance, Tara? I know.
I'm going to try to get in touch with Flaherty too.
Yeah. All right.
I'm still on my phone, so
So we'll leave that go for a while.
Hey, Renee.
I didn't hear. Go ahead, Ken.
I thought we were trying to find a way to attract people to Thompson, bring them in, because of the amenities that we'll have with the small businesses, the trails and everything. So you're looking to draw people this way.
However, I think a brand and a community is for its residents who are here too. So I think if we can find something that serves, multiple goals. I mean, those folks who are already in Thompson, we don't want them to look at something we're advertising that says Find Your Way to Thompson and oh, this isn't for me, I'm already here. I don't know. That's kind of, I think we got that, in several of the meetings that we had with Sullivan and Lashane, that we're really trying to appeal to both. I mean, through the branding, I suppose the economic development piece of it, certainly, residents and new residents and businesses. So saying that, Ken, what do you think? Which of these that jumps out at you?
Find Your Way to Thompson look good. And the other two, Follow the Trail to Thompson. That's a play on words to get people to come here. Maybe there's a way.
Go ahead.
Maybe there's a way of, like Charlie was trying to do, find your way to Thompson. Maybe there's another word that we can put there that implies come to and being in Thompson. To modify that.
Okay. So, are we comfortable saying that we really wouldn't want to go with the first two because we certainly want to promote our trails and we support our trails and there are high points,
but that's not what we're totally about. That's one of those things that we have to offer, amongst many other things.
So
the way of life and everything.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with saying, okay, you know what, we're not going to use, let's take those off the list. I don't know how anybody opposed to that we start working with the last three and see if we can come up with something that way. Because I know I heard Brian say he likes, it's right here. And Charlie and you are both talking about Find Your Way to and in Thompson.
And what if it said Thompson, Connecticut, Find Your Way? Ah,
Cool.
you're expecting more. Uh-huh. Just a thought.
Uh,
I don't claim I have all the answers.
Did you write that down, Charlie? It's
No,
recorded.
I just read it off the screen, but I can combine them and pop them into an email.
Actually, it's on the record because we're being recorded. So you're saying Thompson, Connecticut, find your way?
Yep.
For what it's worth, I really like the sound of that.
I do
Mike.
too. I think that sounds
Turn.
good.
Okay, Renee, is there a different marketing plan? Because mine's dated September 2020.
September 2020 from, yeah, that's probably when we got,
Is that the one you're working off of?
that's the one we're working on, Ken.
Yeah,
Okay.
it would have been late September, Ken. So if it was sent around the 30th,
That's
I
the
mean,
right
we're only
one.
a week or so out from that.
Yeah, it
The one- the one-
was sent from Renee on the 24th. So I'm just looking at, because it says follow the trail, all trails, find your way,
Yep,
and
that's it.
to Thompson, then reach for Thompson. It's right here. Okay. Just making sure I didn't have a different version, that's all.
I mean, I've toggled
the
power strip as
Can we get folks to weigh in, like
Doesn't
vote
seem to have a
or
light, so I can't
either-
tell if it's on or off now, but in neither instance was it coming on.
Tara, do I have to mute you?
No, you don't have to mute me.
I don't want to be pushy here, but do people feel comfortable taking those two first off the list? Yes or no? Show
I
of
would.
hands.
I would.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
Yes.
Okay, that's Charlene, right? Brian, we know what he liked. Leslie, did you say you liked the?
I
Did you
liked
have
what
an
Charlie.
opinion, Leslie?
I liked what Charlie
You
said.
do?
Just the Thompson, Connecticut, or find your way. I agree with what Ken was saying about the trails. I don't think that it's that strong to emphasize it in this. It's one of many, so I wouldn't say.
Okay, so I think probably that's as far, is that far enough? We'll stay with these three for now, or do we want to continue working on the taglines? Because I still like that whole point, and I know what the logo should get our message across too, with the map icon or whatever you call that, Leslie, that point that's, we're right here. That kind of says we're right here. So maybe, Brian, do you think that by imagery we can get that it's right here message through? Brian must be busy.
Well,
So
don't you
now-
think that happens with that point? That point is you're right here. That's what when you're looking for something on
Yeah.
a map and it's right there, you are right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that is the
Yeah.
point of the pointer, in fact, yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's really, the logo would have, and I think we're all in favor of that, would have Brian's, it's right here. Okay, so something in some way we want to look at Charlie's and find your way, and I don't know, I think that's progress for us.
So do I. But to the example of just using that pointer, that icon, which really says more than just, when you see that icon, you know that it's a reference point. So if, for example, we had the phrase, Thompson, Connecticut, find your way, and then put that pointer inside of the
Yeah.
quote. So it kind of streamlines the verbiage and punches a lot of information into it. I do like that concept. It's right here. I told you that earlier, and I also
Okay.
told you I hadn't dug down into the report all the way into this stuff, so.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to brand logo. I know we said we weren't, but there's actually the old ones are in there, so we can revisit. Logos and other visual elements are central to development of the Town of Thompson's brand marketing plan. Having reviewed and discussed the draft concepts we developed, we created the attached logo based largely on suggestions and feedback from the branding committee, incorporating the key visual images that engendered the most support. Anchored by a geographic marker replacing the second O, Thompson is emblazoned over a silhouette of the town's. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to go. Well, you don't have it in front of you.
That's okay. I've seen them.
Yeah, so they give us the one that they started with. Though when you compare the two, when you compare the one that had the two towers and the cow, and the trail with the bicyclists in the back and trees, with the current one is has much more depth. It is much more striking, and it looks much fresher than that older one, which isn't really old. So I think the one we have in front of us is progress. So maybe there is something to work with. Charlene, first thing I said when I saw this new one, I said, Charlene's gonna hate it. I didn't hear anything from you yet on the logo.
That's why.
So Tara summed that up a little bit. I mean, it is better. Like when you see the two side by side, the other one looks very cartoonish. This one looks a little bit closer to kind of what we sent him when we sent him the picture of what Putnam has. And I think the Mills, the Mill Tower is a little bit more representative.
Yeah, I think the bike took the picture over. Once you could get past the bike, then you could start. Like, I like the mill. I thought that looked sharp as far as what we were trying to get away from the first one. Do you know what I mean? And then I wish there would have been like the dam, some kind of water. Like, that's really part of what Thompson is too. So I wish there would have been some kind of, I know the sky looked like the water, but then if you really looked at it, it was the sky. It wasn't water in there. But the bicycle was like the whole picture. That's what I saw when I first looked at it.
It takes it over.
I do think they did a much better job with the skyline and the trees in the back, which in some ways reminds me of when you're looking over at the dam. You see the tree line, the sky, but in front of it is the water. So maybe we look, if they're still willing to work on it. We'll see. So, I mean, there's some elements we like. Are we thrilled about I think I heard Tara say the colors are not great. I'm not thrilled with black. I mean, the black and red.
Part of it to me is that the black and red is, and that is mostly in the form of the cyclist again, is totally contrasting in a jarring way with the rest of the color scheme. Like I think we all agree that cyclist has to come out. It's badly done. It's badly colored. It's badly placed. I mean, it's just terrible. And it really messes up the continuity of the image.
What if you just make like
and I know you don't
bike tracks?
Well, yeah, it does look like the airline trail, huh? I agree that it's badly placed, and I think we could have a better image in there. But I still think the concept overall is more acceptable to me than the previous logo.
Yeah, and I'm agreeing with you on that, Charlie. I know some of you don't have it in front of you, but the town's name, Thompson, is white letters in a block of black. And then that pinpoint is red again. So, and I don't know if we want to tie ourselves to the school colors. That's kind of what's making me think that that's why that's that way. And
That's exactly why that's that way. He either references it in the report or he said it to me the other day, one or the other.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know. I thought we had a color scheme that we chose for signs. And I know it's a different animal, but I thought we were more on the, was it more neutrals or natural colors, Tara? If I'm remembering correctly.
Yes. The wayfinding report, the color scheme that was viewed most favorably was, I think they used the term earth tones, and they included in that greens, blues, browns. I think that's been fairly consistent all along, actually, in every iteration of when this has been presented in groups. So that black and red is just like, it's just too much. It's not bad in the text form, the Thompson with the red pointer. I think that's okay there, but on the image itself, it just looks awful.
Yeah, I think if
I don't know. I'm not
more to the left side of that image, it would balance out, but it's all the red is on the right side of the screen.
And
I'm finally getting into my computer screen. It's just a bad image. It's a bad piece of clip art. Everything about it is bad. It's got to go. Whatever it gets replaced with or not replaced with, that particular piece of clip art has to go.
So we can tell them that.
I was really vehement about that with Brian on Saturday, like to the point where I said, "Are you happy with your design guy?" It actually came out of my mouth.
Wow. No, I know. This is so. These were our directions, and this is what they did. They removed the cow. The made trail look less like roads. I don't know that we asked them that. Could have. I don't remember that. Original 2 flat, add more depth, which I think they did. Mill tower needs to be more reflective of the mill, and I think they did that. They did that somewhat. I don't know. I guess my question is, how many times back are we going to go with them? And because there is a local guy who works for Woodstock Academy, who has a graphics art 2-year degree from QVC, but has all the equipment to do Photoshop and all of that. And I'm half thinking we give this guy a shot. I don't know. You know, I hadn't called him. I thought I would, just to say, hey, are you interested in what would it take? You know, give us an estimate. I know we have no money, but I don't know if it's worth wasting all of our time going back and forth to this design guy.
Well, I can, as I said at the beginning of this meeting, I'm pretty close to out of time if I'm going to turn this into a grant and get my report back from Kelsey. So I'm hot and heavy to get this done one way or the other.
I get that, and we've had this conversation before, and some things transpired over time to change things. But I thought initially with the wayfinding, we were going to get some sort of design out of that too. So I'm not feeling too bad.
Yeah.
Tara, an email just came in, and that Brian and Chris are in Zoom land, wondering if what's happening. So I think they might have the old meeting.
Yeah, they have
They
the old
probably
idea.
do. I am literally just getting online right now. Chris, there was some other problem, and I might not even have internet.
Hang on. Charlene, can you email them the new link?
Yep. I have it right here.
Thank you.
846.
Thank you.
Yeah, say 846. What is it?
Yeah, that's the right one. Yep.
Read it to me because my paste is 4862
3233.
3233. So 846-486-23233.
And no password. Oh, good.
Okay, I just sent it over.
Thank you.
Great. This might be a little helpful.
What did people do before electricity? I want to know.
I think they
Smoke
went to the
signals.
meetings. They went to the
They
meetings.
milked their cows and fed their chickens and didn't worry about anything else.
Went to sleep early.
A can and two cans and a string.
So before we get caught up in the logo part of this, before they come in, I kind of like them to go through some of this with us. And maybe they can help us with Find Your Way or Thompson, Connecticut, Find Your Way.
Well,
or
I think
whatever.
I think that piece you guys have successfully litigated. It sounds to me like you arrived at things that you liked. I mean, why go back over that if you're happy with that result?
Okay. I just thought, yeah, okay, that's fine.
I mean, you can, but I feel like if you open it up again, there's the potential to say, oh, maybe we didn't really like that. But if you are currently satisfied with your choice, let that rest, and then let that be the piece that you use for the other discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're coming up almost an hour into this meeting now.
Yeah.
You got quite a bit to cover going forward.
Speaking of, I'm gonna have to log off at 7:30 because my UCLA writing class will be starting. So just to let everybody know.
Okay, Mike.
Okay, Mike.
Thank
How'd
you.
the interview go today?
Oh, it went really well. It was great. I got a lot of stuff, like about 30 minutes of stuff recorded, and that'll probably break down to like 10 ultimately for a transcript. But yeah, it's pretty good. I'm gonna coordinate with John from the Historical Society so we could kind of release stuff at the same time. He gave me his email and phone number, so I was very happy about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be good to get a picture of that vehicle.
Yeah, he had a couple of pictures, but he wanted to take some like different ones and better ones and send them. So yeah, I thought, so I'll probably reach out to him maybe I don't know, maybe over the weekend, Sunday. Yeah, I'll try to reach out
Well,
to
I
him.
think on Sunday there's an event that he's going to have the vehicle at that I'm going to be at.
Oh, so
Some of us
that's
will be
actually
at,
even
so we'll-
better, because then I could reach out to him and he could take it, a picture of it during the event, because then I have a picture of it
Yeah.
in use. That'll be even better. Okay, so I'll definitely reach out to him Sunday.
Okay, great. I don't see
Is
those
are
guys.
Flaherty and Zuccaro in yet?
He said that doesn't work. What am I not doing? He said that one didn't work.
I'm going to the ID,
Go to-
conference
go to the
ID. It does the 846-4862-3233. Does he have a phone number or something? Tell Flaherty that I sent him a link in his to iMessage because I didn't have his email home.
That's what I used to get on. I think you copied us all because I used a late arriving email from you.
Okay, Chris got our internet up, so I can at least now try to email him the complete link that came through the Facebook message. So I'll try that as well. Tell him to keep trying.
Okay. All right, so let's move on. Well, we're waiting for them. We are going to discuss logo later. Thompson Media List 2020. This is what they're recommending. Actually, this first list is just all our local contacts, emails, phone numbers that cover the region. So that's good. And Taurus. Next page, Thompson editorial calendar, theme month. Setting themes for certain months of the year can help align and boost the effectiveness of your brand marketing. We have created 7 such theme months, which can be adjusted and established as you see fit. Thompson Ag Month, March. an early spring month to honor, celebrate, and highlight Thompson's agricultural industry, its farmers, and their products. And then they give us a list of promotional things, suggestions. Thompson Business Month, May, a month to highlight Thompson's business community, industries, and economic development plans. And then they give some suggestions on promotion. Thompson Business Association Month. And again, some of this is already being done. I think that the TBA monthly highlights the business. Oh,
Yep.
there they are.
They're in?
Let me get these done. They're going to come in any second.
Okay, great, because although my internet is up, it's like first generation internet right now. It's moving so slow.
Were you working on your generator?
Yes, we're on the generator.
Ah. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Renee. How are you?
Good. Hey, we had another storm out here in the Northeast.
I just saw that. Thompson with 20% out.
And Tara was one of them, and she was the host of the original meeting.
That's too bad.
Oh,
And long story short, my Apple doesn't talk to my work PC anyway. So we've been going through the plan. You'll be proud of us. We did come to embrace a few of the taglines that we think we're going to go with.
Oh, good.
Which is progress for this group of folks. We were on the logo next. In the meantime, we were looking at the calendar, but so I think, Ryan, you got Tara's input on Saturday, if I'm
Yeah.
correct.
And I apologize. We did use the other link that began with an 821. So that must have been the one that Tara had set up. At least that was in the email today. So I apologize for keeping you.
No apologies. Nothing, nobody's fault at this point.
Yeah. What did I do with it? Yeah. So look, we're happy to be here. Hello, everyone. And what I talked with Tara about, and I think mentioned to you on Saturday, was look, today is about having put these pieces together. The message development, the brand package, media relations, to get to a pathway to consensus. I got the sense that the branding package was, and the logo specifically, something that you were, as a group, still working on, still not sure about, and we want to help you get there. And since you already start going through it, I think what we were just prepared to, we're prepared to get right into a little Q&A if you'd like. But it has the three critical pieces that we talked about. And she said, look, we hired you. She said, we hired you because of your brand strength, because of the media piece and the others. And I think we're optimistic we can get to some consensus if we, depending on your reaction to the logo. So I think if you have it before you on page 5, it kind of shows we started with a whole bunch of concepts here and narrowed it down. And so interested to hear your thoughts. So we can help take that one more step and complete the packet.
All right. So, from the consensus, the bike guy has to go.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have to say, I've got the two, the one that you initially did, that we definitely see an improvement. It's got the depth, more depth like we were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I like the skyline looked more, the first one looked a little bit more clip art or something. I like that a little bit better. I don't think we were sold on the black and red as our colors. I know it kind of ties in with our school colors, but and I think we still have a problem with this lot of green here in the fence. We were looking for maybe something with water, but anybody feel free to pipe up in this.
Can you let me into the meeting on the screen, Renee?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Charlie Obert. I'm also with the Trails Committee, and I do like the looks of this much better than the previous one, but I agree that the clip art for the bicycle is not the best choice, especially with the inside of the spokes all being white. Perhaps if the bicycle, if we went with the black and red, but it was further to the left, it would balance out with that pointer, the location finding pointer and the word Thompson.
Mhm.
And we also had a little bit of thought about adding CT, so Thompson CT, so our whole package doesn't just get confused in with Thompson, New York or others. It provides a little bit more identity. Having said that, I agree with what Renee summarized, that in the background it seems pretty stark. And bicycling is something that I'm advocating for and pushing for, but it's not the only element of what we are. And the outdoor recreation could probably get a little bit of a inclusion in the background. Don't know. You know, we said that the cows had to go. They looked too cartoonish in the first one.
Mhm.
Maybe a more realistic cow in the background. I'm asking, I'm not telling you, I'm just suggesting. So,
Yeah, let's get some consensus on that, because I thought we were pretty clear that we were just taking the bicyclists out.
Oh.
But that's just me, so anybody else have an opinion on that?
Well, I think this is what happens, that people, it's like if I'm selling chocolate, then I'm going to want chocolate on the logo. If Charlie's riding a bike, he's going to want a bike on the logo. So so I thought hiring somebody with fresh eyes, they would look at our town with our wordage and they would come up with a logo that they thought would appease all of us. So I'm kind of wanting to see what they have. And is this something that they would have drawn up for us, or are they just taking green and growing and cows and mills and bikes and trails and throwing it all on a piece of paper and saying, well, this is what you asked for, so there it is. So I'd like to see what they would have. Would this catch their eye if they were coming in and saw it as a logo, or would they be like, I think I would have done that a little different, or I would have done this?
Well, the process is yours to own. So was the final product, Charlene. So I think that's a good point. And I do think that this is all very helpful feedback. I was a personal fan of the cows because I want to draw a little Fitbit on one of their hooves. But I do think, and I'll let Chris talk about, some of the, we want to give you something that reflects your feedback and makes you feel good about the town. We talked about wanting to have it be modern and forward-looking as well. And I think some of the themes in there, certainly this is malleable. Chris, what do you think? And then I didn't mean to talk over your Charlene or step on anybody else who was still giving input.
No, thanks, Brian.
Before Chris,
sure, go ahead, Renee.
go ahead.
No, you please go ahead.
I think if we're talking about the design, and we did come to sort of an agreement on, we liked, when we're looking at taglines, Thompson CT, like Thompson, Connecticut, find your way. And we did like the icon, so I don't know if that should be incorporated in here as well, or is that something you would put underneath? You know what I mean? You've got Thompson huge here, right?
Well, I think it's
work with Thompson, Connecticut, find your way, and somehow incorporate that pointer maybe in the first O. I don't know.
Well, it can certainly be implemented in the design itself. I mean, that was one piece from the couple of iterations we gave you from the get-go that everyone seemed to gravitate towards and really like. And it's certainly different than what other towns in the state have. So it would be unique to Thompson. So and the reason we put it in there is because it fits the themes that this group has come up with, you know, the coming to Thompson, it being a location, a place for the future, and certainly the recreational and nature aspects that were so evident when we first went through this at the beginning. So I think the locator icon works well for you for the branding, and it's certainly something we could build around. To go back to Charlene's thoughts about, you know, how the process has gone, you know, we rely on this committee because, you know, we're not from Thompson, and it's not a brand that's going to represent us. It's going to represent you, and it's something that should be important to you, and you are the expert. So, you know, we came in with some iterations that we felt were modern and representative of the town, and that had different elements that we thought could fit into the future look of Thompson. From working from that, there, you know, we've heard some elements from this team, you know, from the cows to the trails to, you know, to getting the sketch midway through that we tried to replicate and get that for you. And then we built down to this current iteration, which adding more depth and gradients and the stuff that you that your team wanted. And then also referring to the Putnam logo that was provided to us, which, you know, it's certainly a very nice logo, but they're a next door neighbor. We don't want to copy them directly, and, you know, we want you to stand apart from Putnam. So I think there was a little bit of both of us trying to give our take on what this look should be, while also trying to implement elements that, you know, this team wanted, because you guys are the Thompson experts, and it's something that's going to represent you. And having done this for a while, branding's not an easy thing, especially when it comes to representing something that, you know, that you really care about, like your town. So certainly, yeah, I feel like we have some things we could work with here. If, you know, the feedback you've given us today is really helpful to take another step. And, you know, that's what we're here for, is to hear if there's anything else that, you know, has percolated ideas on your end as to what we should move forward with. Because we want to make you happy. We want you guys, we want to brand Thompson.
So I think I've heard the water element brought up a few times, and I agree with that. We have the 3 rivers that run through town. So I don't know if the green grass can be turned into water, and, you know, some way off in the distance you see a kayaker. And
Okay.
maybe we can have a bicyclist, but he's much further back on the path.
Okay.
The only piece I guess the mill represents industry and business, if we look at it that way. I didn't want to leave our small businesses out, and I didn't know how to incorporate that either.
Well, I think the mill was certainly an icon for the town. It is an icon for the town that the group pointed out from the get-go, and generally town brands have their town icon in there. It is a bit of a look back to the past and a homage to the past. So if that is not something that the team feels is working out, we can certainly let it go.
Oh no, I think we like the mill.
Okay.
So I guess what I'm saying is, I was thinking, as I was talking to you, somebody's trying to come back in. I was thinking aloud. So water is big, and I think there's several of us would like to see water, and perhaps, like I said, a kayaker kind of up in the far distance.
Yeah.
I know that bicycling and trails and hiking are popular in Thompson. And I know Brian feels strongly about the waterways, but I agree that there's lots of folks that come to Thompson to use the trail. So maybe more off in the distance, you know, with a bicyclist. As I'm talking to you, I like the mill. I think we have to include the mill. But in my head, I was saying, is that representative of our businesses? Because when you look at that, it's what we've talked about through outdoor recreation, which is part of what we're trying to promote. I don't know. I mean, we're trying to attract businesses to come here too. So how do you get that message across with an old mill?
Yeah, Renee, I hear what you're saying with that. If I can just interject a little bit.
Yes, please.
For us, the small businesses as they currently exist are, in a physical sense, an abstraction because
Yes.
our small businesses are home-based. They're in small structures that do not have the presence of that traditional downtown. That is actually one of our ongoing challenges, right? That's one of the things
Yeah.
that we're trying to sidestep with the pop-ups and trying to get people able to use Main Street buildings as mixed use. So that takes away an element of representation of something that exists. And
Right.
we're not going to be able to capture everything. So the mill may, in fact, have to stand for business and industry. And it is also our future, right? Because that's what we're pinning our development hopes on in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
And the revitalization of old mill buildings. I think you're okay letting that stand for industry. It's prominent. It's a strong silhouette. The pieces that I objected to in the new iteration, again, the dirt road, I think is way too, I mean, even though people say they enjoy the rural character, I think we don't want to be dirt road rural. If it were up to me, I would say rivers fuel mills. So I think you could make the image of running water right up next to that mill and get that sense. And then perhaps have that off in the distance perspective of the actual, whether it be people enjoying themselves or the image of a farm, because we do kind of, we have been talking a lot about that part of the heritage, but without getting too busy as well. So it's still a lot to throw at you, Chris, in terms of ideas to balance. But how much are we going to fit in something that has to be able to be printed, put on signs?
Yep.
It's got to be big. It's got to be small. What's going to read in the end?
Absolutely. That's a huge thing that's very important. Is it needs to work in multiple environments, both digital and print. I mean, sometimes you're going to have this thing be, 10 feet by 10 feet, and other times you'll have it, half an inch by half an inch on a website. So.
Yeah.
And one
Chris,
thing.
well, I'm thinking.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say.
Getting back.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. You're the
I'm
guest,
sorry.
Brian. You go.
Okay, I apologize. The anchoring it with the Thompson, Connecticut, Thompson CT Find Your Way also gives us opportunities where we put those words to move it right now. Thompson is at the bottom, and so I think and that was purposely to get rid of it's not supposed to be a dirt road, it's supposed to be a trail, as opposed to the first iteration, what some people thought looked like blacktop. But I think with putting the tagline, possibly representing it in there too, it also makes sense of why that wayfinder there is in the second O,
Right.
and I think gives us the opportunity to kind of move around with this without too much change. I also noted that in the banner that you had right next to you at the right next to your booth, Renee, I took a picture of the yellow banner on the bottom, which I think was Leslie, might have been your Thompson Recreation. And there's a logo with people walking, a biker, runners. So a little more subtle. They're a little smaller. They don't dominate the that logo as much. So I think it then becomes a matter of composition. And I'm optimistic we can do it.
I am too, and I think if you, like I said, if you have them off at a distance, they're not in your face. Mm-hmm. And Brian, when we were trying not to interrupt each other, that's exactly where I was going, was to the Thompson. You have Thompson, and then maybe in a I don't know if you call it the way you put the font, that it's the Find Your Way. It comes underneath in a different font, a different shape. I think that will make a difference.
Okay.
And it does tie in with the marker. I think we were on the same page.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited with the just with the centering on a tagline that we can build around. I think that's going to help spark this and get it where it needs to go.
I think too, going to what
Yep.
Charlene was saying is that, I mean, I don't envy you guys. We're throwing we got a million different opinions and a million different ideas. I think too, going back to what Charlene's saying is you're the professionals too, and you're not from town. So what will catch your eye? So trying to even maybe give us an edited down version of the simplest of what we're talking about, because we're talking about adding and adding and adding. And Brian, to go back to yours about the rec logo, although I love that logo and it really captures everything we do, sometimes I look at it and say it's too busy. And then I look at the trails logo and I say that's so simple and so, streamlined. Yep. So I think what Charlene was asking for was, yes, listen to everything that we're saying, but don't maybe put it all in and then give us that scaled down version. And let's see maybe what that looks like,
Yeah.
Because if it is, I mean, maybe we don't know what we really want, and that's the thing that will come. We'll say, okay. Yeah.
I think we were pretty clear tonight on some of the elements that we liked and the ones we wanted to add in. I felt very comfortable.
I'd like to suggest something based on what Renee was saying, a different font underneath to find your way. If that geo pointer actually pointed right to the end of that phrase, find your way. So it says Thompson CT up across the top, whether it's got the black background or not is secondary, but in such a way that the size of the font and the placement of the font that says find your way, and then maybe with an ellipse, the 3 dots and the way geo finder pointing right at that. And again, I don't have the answers. I just have questions.
That's helpful.
Do we want to? Chris, what's your thought on changing color for the red and the black? We were not fans of that.
Well, that's easy enough thing to do. That's actually one of the simplest things to do. I mean, when you say red and black, are you talking about the bottom portion where it says Thompson with the icon? Because we know the biker's gone, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. So,
right.
So, what colors would you think? I mean, originally a lot of our iterations were based on the green and growing, so we had green, and then traditionally the geographical icon is red. That's not to say it can't be another color.
Okay.
So what colors does this group or did the survey from the wayfinding reveal to you that you want to move forward with?
I like the red. I like the red for that circle because everybody knows that. But I guess it's all going to depend on what everything else looks like. I still see a lot of green, even though the red's there. I see the green, but that's because of that green and growing. So I have to. If there's some water in there, I might get a little sidetracked with that.
If I turn off my camera, it'll take the brick red out of the walls. Maybe that'll help too.
That's the color of my parlor.
Let me not stir this up too much, but that bicycle is gone. The concept of the bicycle is not necessarily gone.
Correct.
Maybe if the bicyclist was smaller, maybe if the bicyclist and the mill were mirror image so that the mill was down the right side of the image and the bicyclist was smaller and off to the left, like he's still riding towards you. I see Renee shaking her head no, and
I just don't want it to be. I don't want it to be too prominent. I don't mind the bicyclist, but I don't want him to be too prominent.
Neither do I. Make them smaller, move them further back up the trail. Just basically, if you leave the mill where it is, then it's just basically clear of the mill. And then you've got open space on the right side of the screen for other images, whether it be the water, whether it be a horse or whatever, a greenhouse or whatever, a house. Those are, and I saw that as the rail trail as well. But when somebody says it's a dirt road, that if that's the impression that comes across, that's not particularly what we want. So,
well, it's important to know too what people see, particularly what you all see in this too.
Absolutely.
You asked us about color, and we didn't really give you an answer, except that we liked the red. I think
What-
that, what did we say? They were natural colors, Tara, or?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. Yeah, the color palette that was returned as the most favored from the wayfinding survey was earth tones, blues, greens, browns. I mean, essentially the colors that you have already used.
Yeah.
Perhaps in different proportion than we are seeing, or different shades. That I couldn't tell you, but that was the selected palette.
Okay. And perhaps a little less black. Is that fair enough, everybody?
A little less black.
Yeah.
Okay. No problem.
I just have to bring this up, and I know I said it earlier, but it was before you guys came on. I have to repeat, I am under a time crunch to get this, some form of this logo, even if it's not the final, some acceptable iteration of this logo to Kelsey Giansanti at CHA, because she's got to get her final report to me so that I can turn it into a grant that is due next Friday. I must stress that I have to have something at least drafted and usable in the report form.
That will be a press, but we'll do everything we can to get you there. I think we can at least take the bike out and do a couple of other things, but
even if it's just a shape that she can use in a mock-up, I think that's really all she needs is the shape of it and the colors, shapes, colors, and fonts.
okay.
I think elements can change.
Okay.
So that means we have to meet early next week as a commit. That's, yeah, so. Yeah.
I would think we can perhaps do some email.
I'll meet on I'll meet on Columbus Day. I don't care. I got nothing going.
Well, we've got,
So, yeah, but
we have some scheduling issues we have here to deal with as well. But I think we can rely maybe on some email back and forth to just get closer in a couple of bits, and then maybe I'll get back on the phone again. I'm not sure we'll be able to do it again until Wednesday with all of us, but I do know that we can be available. Probably should do some talking back and forth just to make sure that we're getting, Tara, you what you need for the packet for next Friday, and that we're moving in the right direction.
thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I
know what
think-
I'm going to do right now, since I have my work email up, I'm just going to start a thread between the two of you guys, Brian and Chris, Kelsey and me, just to know what her bare minimum needs are to put something together.
Okay. Terrific.
Brian, I think most of us are available for a daytime meeting as well. I don't know how long it would take and how it would impact with Renee and Tara, but and they've been doing this in the evening, as you can tell, but
Right.
many of the rest of us would be available. So
Okay. I appreciate
Yes,
that.
absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Do we want to move on?
Yes, please.
So we were just running through the different themes. Did you want to pick up here, Brian, on that, or?
Sure.
Do you need?
Or Chris, do you want to? This would be on the theme months.
Sure.
Yeah, that's where we yeah.
Okay.
So we did some research based upon other branding that's gone on throughout the country, and I think one thing that is prominent with these types of campaigns is the idea of theme months that give you the opportunity to highlight different things, positive things about your town. So being able to take a month and looking ahead, I mean, to next year or the following year, if that's what's necessary with COVID, to take each month to highlight the things that are really going to attract you to bring attention, both bring pride within the town and bring attention from outside of town. So for instance, Thompson's great schools, Thompson's business community, Thompson's recreations, and it's an opportunity to kind of just shine a light on all these different things that make Thompson great. I'm trying to find the section here. Does that help? I mean, I'm not sure if the team here understood the point of it, but does that help clarify the thought process behind that?
Yeah, I think we were actually, we knew that we had to beef up the number of events that we did. Like, we should have something every month.
Yep.
I don't think we necessarily thought about, having a set month for any particular thing, but it's not a bad idea. It keeps you on a schedule that you can plan ahead. And but we were aware that we had to step up our game on events.
And I think that's a big theme behind this packet is just, setting the foundation for what the next steps of this campaign is going to be, and being able to both have an editorial calendar of events that are annual and already in place, and also looking ahead to see, what can be done to plan ahead and put the town in a position that it can start highlighting things. So, it's getting the process moving is basically what we're trying to do here. And it's looking ahead, and this kind of charts the course, which we have found that when you are just getting started makes things a lot more helpful and easier.
I definitely appreciate the themes. I think it will help us focus our social media efforts, our media efforts in general. My question is, we do have things that fall outside of those themes that are just happening. So what percentage of your media presence, specifically just social media, is centered around the theme versus, when you just have other stuff that's happening, in town that you want to highlight that maybe falls outside of it? So are you would it be something where you're posting around this theme, 2 to 3 times a week, or, and doing articles once a week, or how do you balance the theme versus you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, it's certainly the theme of the month certainly should not, exclude other things that are going on in town. I mean, it's just another thing that's going on in the background that brings excitement within the community, pride within the community, and gives you a chance to highlight to the people that aren't familiar with Thompson. And I think you'll find that once you get all different parties involved, whether it's the schools or the business community, they'll want to be a part of that. And what this will do is it'll help you in developing content, which can be the hardest thing to do when you're pushing forward a campaign, is just keeping up with all the content, because you got to just keep things moving. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think that's where we are. I mean, like, for example, if this school month is, April or whatever, but the school has events and stuff going on, we're still sharing those and whatever, but we're.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Like if you look at the different section, the media calendar, I mean, we know that the schools have concerts in the holiday season, and that's certainly not something that should be ignored. Towns love that. And it's just something to help you keep you on track, and it's something to help get different parties in the community involved. And so it's more of a town-wide effort rather than just, being set on this team.
Yeah, I like the idea of it focusing on months too, because, I think it's kind of, we then can go to those different groups. I mean, there's so many departments and components to the town. We're going to those groups and really sharing and getting them involved in that. And that will also then encourage them, I think, to communicate more outside of their month on the things that they have going on and cross-promoting. And I think the schedule, like you're saying, the content piece is huge. Like, we're working with our intern right now on doing, okay, well, every Thursday, because we're in the fall and we're trying to get people outside, every Thursday for the next 6 weeks, we're going to post about trails, and then it's like, okay, well, you just know, every Thursday there's a guaranteed post. We're not sort of thinking about, well, what's coming up next. So I think having those theme months and knowing and planning, a certain, media presence, social and print and other, that will help our intern, that will help our departments kind of get, on the same page. And just also to be clear, not to say like, well, just because it's not your month doesn't mean you can't share stuff or do that. But, and I think having with the intern, it'll also help guide that intern, is because, when they're working with so many departments, That was one of the frustrations of the last intern, I think, was just that, sometimes it's not as cohesive, but having those theme months brings some cohesion to it. So I certainly appreciated it.
And I'm so happy that you brought that up, because I think that is a great thing to talk about, is how this could potentially break down silos that you may have within the town and open up more communication channels. One thing we talk about, I believe it's in the best practices section, is the idea of having one channel for folks to reach out to, and one decider for the content that gets put out there. And I'm glad you brought the intern too, because we certainly had the intern in mind when we were putting this together, because it can be, finding content, it's difficult, and the most helpful thing you can do for yourself is to plan ahead. And I think this sets a good foundation for helping this team plan ahead, and it's something that can be implemented, not just next year, but the year after and the year after. And you'll find that once it becomes routine each year, it becomes easier, and more people learn about it, and more people get involved, and it'll break down the silos and create more of a team effort around town.
Yep.
Chris,
You know,
I hate to
before I
interrupt.
forget-
Can you just tell me your email? Because when I open my work email on my home desktop, it doesn't auto-populate saved
Sure.
address.
Sure, it's C as in Chris, Zaccaro, Z as in zebra, A, C, C, A, R-O at ctpr.com. And if you ever need our emails,
So
they're on our
Two C's,
website.
two C's, one R.
Yep, Z-A-C-C-A-R-O.
Okay,
And just,
great, thank you.
Just for reference, if you ever need our contact, it's all on our website, ctpr.com, each one of our contacts.
All right, thanks.
No problem.
Before I forget, it's a little off topic, but we did talk about the launching of the new logo and the brand, and I should probably know this, but are you seeing us through that piece of it, or is that not part of what we contracted for?
It's not part of this, but we did talk about, once we finished handed over the final product, kind of coming back after a little while, making sure everything is all right. We'd be happy to give some advice and help in order. We're not just gonna, leave the baby on the doorstep and speed off on the highway. But it was not part of this. But we'd certainly recommend it when you're ready to do it, and perhaps in concert with either the wayfinding and some of the other things that initiatives that you have. We can make new branding month, and we'll add a month to it.
In light of a meeting that happened this week, I'm a little apprehensive, and so how do we get? And this is, again, step 2, powers that be to now start using this on letterhead and all those places it needs to be. Because I'm not so sure that the new administration, though it's a year old, is behind what we're doing in branding. It's not your problem, but I'm very nervous about that now, especially in light of
In the
meeting.
Well, it just means we may have to roll it out in suboptimal ways and improve things when things improve. We have the tools, and we'll just use them to the best ability we can with what we got.
in my experience, sorry, Brian.
No, go ahead, Chris.
In my experience rolling out branding campaigns, I found that the easiest thing to do, the most effective thing to do, is to create a, I'm having trouble finding the word, a collection of list of where the brand would live, an inventory. You got to inventory everything where the brand would live, everything where you have current branding, and create a checklist, and be ready to implement the brand onto each of those items on the inventory, basically at the same time. You don't want to kind of like piecemeal and have different inconsistent brand. Oh, sorry. You don't want to piecemeal and have different brands and inconsistencies, on different items throughout town. So, perhaps creating an inventory first, getting ready to launch that and implement the branding onto those different things, and then coordinating the launch, the announcement.
Okay.
Nothing succeeds like
Okay, thank you.
success. And I think Chris said, to the extent you're able to flip the switch in a bunch of places at the same time, and obviously bring some people along in the process as this subcommittee brings back its final report. I mean, it won't be perfect, but when momentum happens, the politicians tend to run along and pretend they did it, they wanted it all along.
Oh yeah.
I can tell you that from experience.
Yep.
But there are ways to do it, and we talked about that consistency, I think, in one of our first conversations about, the different town websites and departments may have all started at different times, and now with a unifying theme and a unifying tagline and image, get as much as you can first, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
I have two quick questions, I think, about this theme months. The first one is probably sponsored by my OCD, but we have March, May, October, December, then we go back to April. Is there any reason why it's not March, April?
Alphabetical by theme.
Okay, now I know. The second question that I have is, should we be planning on adding events into each of these months? For example, on a typical April, we have a community art show, which is at the library. That's okay. Then we also have Earth Day and Riverside cleanups that aren't kind of anywhere that I could see on this. So
yeah, yes, the art show and the cleanup are on here, Charlie.
They are okay. I didn't see them.
They may be later on
26.
because Chris built through a series of those and then specific ways to push them out to the press. But you may find as you do this that, particularly October is Business Association, it's also Manufacturing Month, it's also other things going on. So as Chris was describing, as you do roll through these, you may find you want to move one. You may find, hey, there's a month that isn't here, we want to build something around, and it becomes organic.
Right, I agree. Yeah, I don't think look at any of this as in stone.
Yeah.
We've been on for an hour and a half, folks, and I don't know how people feel about continuing through. The last piece is, let's get through the, it's got a lot of things going on in Thompson.
A lot going on. Chris, why don't you, if it's all right with everyone, and we'll wrap it up. The next ones are really just some of the events that are important and a really clickable to-do list. But I like if Chris would just share with you that last piece, which deals a little bit with best practices, if that's okay. And then look, we're not disappearing, we're not going anywhere. So we can always individually, or we can come back and talk with you all again. We certainly have more homework to do.
Okay.
Chris, you want to just talk about the best practice?
Sure. Thank you. So there's two sections really to this best practices. One section focusing on the social media, one on the website. Both extremely important when it comes to communicating both to people within your town and outside of your town. And this hopefully gives your team a good, well, probably more likely the intern, a good framework of how to appropriately administer both of those. It's not a total fixed. I mean, it's not, it's just, it's a way to carry on both with the campaign that was developed here and best practices for, how to most effectively use these very important tools. First being, having a social media policy, down to what platforms are most effective, down to consolidating pages, which is something that was briefly talked about at one of our first meetings, whether it's important for Public Works and the town to have its own pages. So hopefully this will give a good guideline of, the appropriate use for those things. One particular tip is, a lot of towns tend to use Facebook as their website. And there's a difference between that. I mean, Facebook's really a tool to get people to go to the website. You know, it's not a place for posting PDFs or Word documents. It's, you know, it's a promotional tool where you give like a teaser that links to more information on the website, because the ultimate goal should be to drive people to your websites, whether it be the town website, library website, recreation website. And it gives you more flexibility to provide the information that folks in town need. So, I mean, it's pretty comprehensive, and I hope that it's very helpful and sets a good foundation for the way Thompson's digital assets can be administered going forward.
I think so. I think there will be a meeting with the intern. However, it's more than just the intern. Like Leslie, you know, we talk about this too, is getting other folks to update their own pages. And so we'll see where we can go. We have to develop a strategy of getting everybody on board, and that's part of the next phase, I think.
And I think that's a big part of the theme of this, is both the looking ahead, scheduling, making sure you have your editorial calendars, and also having, you know, the process in place where folks know if there's information that they need to communicate, whether it's with residents or people outside of town, that they know where to go, and that there's, you know, a supreme commander that understands the branding and the messaging and the tone, which is also very important, and that is applied consistently throughout your assets, rather than, you know, everyone, you know, saying whatever they want and not being consistent. Consistency is a very important key to effective branding. So hopefully this helps you. I think it will.
I think it will too. Okay, did anybody have anything else for Brian or Chris at this point?
Yeah, I'm going to be heard for a moment here. I was going to put this off and talk about it after we got Brian and Chris off. But we were talking about the logo, and if we go with the Find Your Way to Thompson, and I'm just throwing this out because I've been thinking about this as we've been talking, you're looking at the mill for business. We probably like to have people move to Thompson. That would be housing. That could be a small house. And then the other things would be, like we were talking about, instead of the bicyclist, maybe it's just a hitchhiker, you know, a hiker, you know, a little figure hiker, a little water with the, you know, maybe a canoe in it, and things of that type of thing, because that's why you're finding your way here. There was just some thoughts with a lot of discussion that was going on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you for that.
Chris, can I ask you a question about when it comes to consistency and sort of combining, you know, one of the things is that when we have a variety of pages and we have people following multiple pages, and then you go to shut pages down, and now where do people go? What's some best practice around that? And we can have that conversation offline. I mean, that's really like, you know, it doesn't have to be everyone, or if you have something that you could share with me that would help, you know.
Off the top of my head, I could certainly, you know, reach out to you offline as well with more information, do some more research if there's merging mechanisms or some sort. But the first thing that comes to my mind is just planning ahead and, you know, communicating, not just shutting down one day. I mean, it's pretty well one post, but like letting people know, like over a month or two period, like, hey, we're going to be, you know, migrating over to this other platform or this other page. Go follow this, and it's going to be a good promotional tool to send folks to that page. So yeah. It comes down to effective communication with your following.
I mean, that's pretty much what I did to consolidate the rec pages. We were running 3, and now we're down to 1. So, you know, and just giving as much notice and possible. But okay.
But I'll see if there's any other strategies or mechanisms, and I'll let you know for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Charlie, I would suggest that trails wrap into the town of Thompson too, and whoever is the admin just be given some admin or an editor on the town's Facebook, because there's not enough activity happening on trails alone, right?
I just glanced over to trails. There are, but there's only one person that's an admin right now, and probably we would be better off turning it into a group instead of just the page. That's something we're going to have to come to terms with on our own. There are a couple of other pages that provide lots of information about what's going on in Thompson. Two of them that I have admin capabilities on, and one that deals with the Friends of the Airline Trail north.
Charlie, I think one of the goals would be, and I'm not saying trails have to wrap in. I'm just saying that one of the goals would be to reduce as many town pages as possible. And I don't know that I see, there's a lot of activity happening around the train, and a lot of grant stuff happening, a lot of stuff happening with trails, but it's just that it's not showing up on Facebook unless somebody else is sharing it there. But so that was just a thought. Maybe you guys can,
Charlie,
in light of this whole branding.
Yeah, Charlie, I'll reach out to Karen and to see we can add it to the next agenda item as something to talk about at the next Trails meeting.
Discussion.
Yeah. The Thompson Trails Committee has its own page, which is not at all linked into the Town of Thompson Facebook page. So thinking in those terms, yes, we need to get more of our information over, and I don't know of any way to do that automatically, and I have some difficulty even trying to share a post to that page, which is what I inadvertently understood at the beginning of my answer here. So,
I think one of the things that Chris was talking about too is just, even if we do have multiple pages, that things are coming through one person or one, to keep the messaging consistent and to know what that calendar looks like and cross-sharing and stuff. So just, even if we do decide to have multiple pages for different departments, just having that all under one umbrella of our marketing and, intern or.
I just, in particular with trails, because I don't know. There's not a department. They're an active group, but not on social media. I don't know. I just would love to see them wrap into.
Sure.
Merge
Let's
their
brainstorm
pages
on
ours,
that.
but that's not my decision.
Yeah, we can bring it up at the next meeting.
I think that we can certainly come up to some sort of a good conclusion on that, because there's obviously room for us to improve it. I don't know how to do it. Maybe Michael, our intern, does, but or maybe these gentlemen do. But our Trails Committee, I think our Facebook page was the first one that was launched in the town, and then
No.
it's old.
Recreation was in library way before that.
Okay. Well, I wasn't doing Facebook until after the Trails Committee came up, and that's 2012 at least.
Hey, guys, is there anything else we want from Brian and Chris?
Yes. No. I think
Nope,
we're all
just
set unless somebody else has a question.
No, just post me a schedule of when we can meet again, and even if it's a daytime, I can probably make it.
I'd like to let Chris and Brian go, and we can stay on it just a minute and wrap up.
Good night.
Thank you very much.
Guys.
Stay safe. Keep the lights
Good night,
on.
guys.
I did get an email, by the way, from Brian Sino
Yep.
that he lost power.
Yes, you know.
So,
Yeah,
Justino,
okay.
yeah, I'm sorry. All right, we'll get going. And thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, team.
Thanks,
All right, I'll
guys.
talk to you soon, guys.
Have a good night.
Good night. Stay safe.
You too.
I'm going to propose that we dismiss the rest of the agenda for tonight. It's just a review of where we're at. If anybody opposed to that?
I don't know. I don't remember what else was on it. Was there anything that had any urgency to discuss?
No, it was just a recap of what's been going on. 65 Main is probably the little bit urgent, but now that's kind of on hold, I guess, for a while until, anyway.
Yeah,
I guess the next
it's both urgent and in limbo is what it is.
Right, thank you. But if there's no opposition, I'd like to end the meeting and adjourn the meeting. And we'll keep everybody posted on when we get to meet back. And I would hope maybe he threw out next Wednesday. I know that's not good for TBA. But if people are available during the day, like Charlie said, we can shoot for that because it'll be a special meeting. But we'll have communication in between. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. Okay.
Good night. Stay safe.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you for your time. I think we made progress.
I think so too.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye, guys.